So next, there's other options as well that we can do in terms of environmental sustainable curriculum. So universities can conduct a campus-wide sustainability literacy assessment that can help measure students and faculty's knowledge of environmental issues, awareness of on-campus initiatives, and their culture towards sustainability. And this proper analysis can help determine how to advance and improve mandatory course requirements and sustainable learning outcomes. One university that is excelling at this is the University of Michigan, which conducts an assessment on students and faculty's sustainability knowledge, culture, and awareness of campus initiatives, which is called the Sustainability Cultural Indicators Program, or SCIP, they call it. It's conducted to their Graham Institute of Sustainability, and it's been given on a regular basis since 2012. And this data has been used to change, they collect data that helps them understand campus attitudes, and it's been used to advocate for policy, which is really impressive. And the one last thing that we've been advocating for is campuses being able to integrate their information regarding campus sustainability into orientation sessions so that students start their university experience with an environmental mindset. So this could happen right at the beginning, and this presentation could highlight information what's possible to recycle in the area, campus sustainability issues, connecting students with environmental organizations. And one school that's doing really great is at Cal Poly. Our ambassadors have brought this initiative to the attention of the campus sustainability coordinator and have since worked alongside a group to focus on developing a module for course credit. This module is set to roll out in the fall and will test students' assumptions by testing them on their knowledge before and after providing education materials. So through these three initiatives, we can really make great change in the environmental sustainability knowledge that students leave with. Climate change is the most pressing issue of our time, and all future working professionals should know the basics to be able to impact change in their careers and communities. And by cementing these initiatives into policy, universities can ensure that students leave with the environmental necessary for the world that we live in.
Yes, and the one thing I wanted to touch on, we really did have Audrey from Cal Poly helping lead this effort alongside the students in this other group that are working on it based on our suggestions. She's done great work, and one thing that we've really tried to make unique about this type of module, we also have someone here from Berkeley who helped implement a similar model. Our goal is to make it something that is mandated for all students to take 2 hours at the beginning of the year. And we want it to be something where they aren't just scrolling through it because they have to do it or they'll get 1,000 emails saying they haven't completed it. We want it to be worthwhile and impactful. And we believe the best way to do so is to challenge people's assumptions, which is what Aria was just talking about a little bit. Going back to here, we want to prove them wrong, use the shock factor, and test their assumptions and biases. The example of this that we really look to integrate at Cal Poly is testing them and asking them how much recycling contamination they believe there would be on campus out of 4 options. And we can almost guarantee that no one would guess 70% of recycling is contaminated. And this is something that makes them question what they've been doing right or wrong. And again, these are students becoming adults for the first time, living on their own for the first time for the most part, and making sure you set students up for success and understand what to do as an individual within a county and on campus is so critical. And so this has been a really exciting development as well. Our next committee is the administration committee, which focuses on how to navigate the food chain when it comes to campus, because there are students, student groups, faculty, staff, and campus administration higher above. And it's interesting to note and find campuses where the sustainability office are often undersupported, understaffed, and they are doing the most they can, and students don't always know that. They assume that these people, you of those who are here today, are the final decision makers, and often you want the same things that the students do, and trying to understand that and work together so that students can support faculty staff initiatives, and faculty and staff again can support students and bring them into the fold and help them see the action they want to achieve happen. And so there are a lot of different goals that fit in within this. We also try to address the initiatives that require interdepartmental support, such as net zero emissions, that looks at operations, procurement, and also just making sure, again, students are involved in the decision-making processes throughout the different levels of administration, through staffing, through employment, etc. And so I will next turn it over to Samir to talk about his experience.
Hey everyone, so glad to see you all here. My name is Samir. I use the He series and I'm a rising sophomore at Berkeley. I currently serve as a peer leadership consultant and lecturer on campus, working to educate and serve the environmental community. I just want to quickly thank Hadley, Glenn, and Michelle for inviting me to give a few of my anecdotes of my past experience in the past year at Berkeley. So I've been working with the Ambassador Program all summer through its partnership with Green Dock Ventures, where I'm currently an intern. And as such, I feel like I can speak to some of the strengths that this program will provide. And so I spent my first year at Berkeley navigating and rallying together 60 different environmental organizations on campus to combat sustainability and waste issues. This was through cleanups, waste audits, or just simply tabling in front of dining halls. But my goal at the end of the day was just to simply make an impact. And so I've worked with directors, officers, and faculty to come up with solutions to environmental education on campus. So as a student who has been engaged in so many facets of the campus sustainability, just community as a whole, I feel like I have a few key takeaways from some of my experiences that I'd like to share with you all. So first, speaking directly to the students present, people are going to say no, and that's okay. When contacting so many clubs, I have had people turn me down, and that's fine. It doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong or that you failed. It simply means you have to push a little bit harder. And this leads me to my second takeaway, which is persistence. I spent months trying to convince the sustainability director that we needed to revamp our sustainability module for incoming freshmen. And I know that there's a whole hierarchy of bureaucracy that takes place at a campus, and oftentimes sustainability directors aren't the ones who make the decisions, but I was told time and time again that there wasn't enough time or that there wasn't enough hours to be put into such a project at that scale. And so while it's important from the student side to be persistent, it's equally essential for faculty and staff to acknowledge and appreciate the persistence the students have. I'm grateful that the director showed me that appreciation by inviting me to be on a panel of 8 student senators, faculty, and directors of sustainability. We spent 5 weeks completely transforming the curriculum and were able to deliver a product to our school senate that I was more than proud of. And the biggest reward of all was when my friend, who is coming to Berkeley in the fall, told me that he took the module and learned a bunch of new things that he didn't know before and now has a strong understanding of Berkeley's eco-culture. And so while I was able to persist, I assume that most students would likely have been deterred after weeks to months of stalling. And it's critical that faculty and staff uplift students who want to do more by holding these conversations and pointing students in the right direction, as opposed to saying no and moving on. Maybe explain to a student why something isn't possible or why it's difficult to achieve. Reward the resilience and consider how to make the seemingly impossible achievable. And so I'll go into my last takeaway, which in my opinion is by far the most important. So I was extremely naive and optimistic when I came to Berkeley and Austin. I would push for projects that had giant scopes that just weren't possible within clubs and organizations. And so being shut down was pretty common for me. And so one thing that I learned is that if you want to be in this space, you have to have an undeniable love for the environment. It is not a place for the lighthearted. You truly have to love the work you are doing, because most of the time you're going to feel like the whole world is against you. And that's not to be pessimistic. It's just the truth. And so it is important to hold on to that passion that drives you and make sure that it helps you achieve whatever goal that you're pushing for, making sure to keep the big picture in mind. So make sure that when you are having a specific ask to a faculty member, you know what you're asking for. The benefit of being in this ambassador program is the ability to speak to students across the country about how they've implemented solutions that you might also want to advocate for on your respective campuses. So here you will truly find a community that understands you and help you grow. And I thank you all for being here today. Thank you so much, Hadley.
Thank you, Samir. Yes, and this is just a reminder that it can be difficult, but it's worth it, and that students are meant to support faculty and staff just as much as faculty and staff are meant to support students. And so when students are making less informed requests or making very informed requests that seem just so difficult, reevaluate how it could be made possible with more voices, more passion. For example, we tie it back to Kristen at UCLA. It took months of no's before we've made as much progress as we have. And Samir speaks wonderfully on it as well. Next, I will turn it to Megan.
Hi everyone, my name is Megan Higgins. I'm a rising junior studying political science at the University of Pennsylvania. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm currently on the university's intern team at the Global Climate Pledge. A lot of my research is centered around the different ways that students impact sustainable change on their campuses, whether that's through clubs, employment, or volunteer work. And I'll just kind of discuss some of our findings today. So student leaders are uniquely situated in a university setting, particularly when considering RAs. The main responsibility of any RA or GA is to help students adjust to living on their own. They're supposed to create a comfortable, healthy environment in which first years are able to live independently. Consequently, implementing sustainable practices in residential halls can be really important in such an influential period of change. This is the first time that many students are living on their own in a new place, and sustainability looks different everywhere you go. Some places you can recycle just about anything, and others you can only recycle narrow neck plastic bottles. With the right guidance from the get-go in this new chapter of life, many students can develop sustainable habits that they'll carry with them through their adult lives. Student leaders like RAs are perfectly poised to be the influential factor here. They have a unique role in relation to students, see them on a weekly basis, conduct floor or building-wide meetings, and check in with students individually. The COVID-19 pandemic derailed a lot of progress schools are making in this area, but utilizing comprehensive sustainable living guides during RA training can be really effective and a great starting point if your university is interested in integrating sustainability into their residential programs. Many universities also have a student eco-rep program that looks different from campus to campus, and some of you may be familiar with that already as employees of sustainability offices. Some are paid employees of the sustainability office, while others are volunteers. Some programs only invite first-year students, while others are open to anyone. One broad similarity, though, is the collaborative nature of the program and dedication to implementing sustainable initiatives. Eco-reps have planned farmers market trips, sustainability panels, composting projects, and green social events, just to name a few. The University Climate Ambassador Program provides a unique opportunity for student leaders like the ones I've mentioned to come together and share the great work they've done, and hopefully empower others to pursue similar goals at their schools. It allows students the opportunity to consider sustainability on their campus in a new light, connects them with faculty and staff like those of you here today, and expands their understanding of real issues. Careful and empathetic guidance from sustainability professionals working on campuses is key to student growth and also provides faculty-student voices to back the initiatives that they are already pursuing. Discourse and collaboration are key facets of the climate movement, and our program aims to open channels of communication so that we as students can work together to implement the change we want to see. I've personally had the opportunity to learn from people that are quite literally thousands of miles away from me, some even in different countries, and use that perspective to evaluate my own school's commitment to climate action. It's been an incredible experience that I definitely would recommend to anyone passionate about environmentalism and advocacy. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you, Megan. Yes, it's so important for students to engage with other students, with campus issues, with campus culture, with the community, and in doing this, connect with people, other types of stakeholders. And so it's one of the most integral parts of making change, as we reiterate yet again. Now, our final committee, which I'll be speaking on again as a few of our key dining ambassadors are not able to make it today, Waste and Dining, which is often the initiative that is most immediately near and dear to ambassadors' heart, because there's just so much waste that's seen all the time. You eat food, you know that food accounts for so many emissions, and it's just a really easy way to engage people. And there are so many different things that can be done regarding waste in dining, and some of them include making sure there is a sustainable procurement policy in place, that you are reporting scope 3 emissions, especially those associated with food purchases, which almost no school does and can really visually triple your emissions, but these invisible emissions are key to regulating impact. Also making sure that there's effective composting and recycling, reusable food containers, and that behavioral change is met as well, because again, there can be perfect waste systems in place, dining systems in place, and students can forget how to utilize it properly. And so another example from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo is that 70% of recycling is contaminated by students either using the wrong type of plastic. You can only recycle numbers 1 and 2, either having food coating the recycling that they're generating, or by placing their recycling in plastic bags and tying it up when they put them in the dorm enclosures, which leads the recycling facilities to assume it is trash. So all of this contributes to the statistic of contaminated, so to speak. And so again, the second point we already touched on, we want people to question their assumptions and realize that they are part of a bigger problem, a very big problem, whether they know it or not. And another opportunity to address this, what we've been able to achieve is working with the Zero Waste Coordinator to utilize a $15,000 Cal Recycle grant to implement effective signage in the dorm enclosures to influence students' decisions at the end of the waste stream before it goes to the facilities. And it is a very difficult matter to understand how to communicate best to students. And so it was wonderful to have the opportunity to brainstorm and design this and have it rolled out across campuses to 5,000 on-campus students. And so we really do hope through all of the aspects of what we do to inspire behavioral change at every single aspect when you're getting started on campus, everywhere you walk, everyone you talk to. Additionally, another great example of behavioral change comes from a contact we made at Duke University. And so, as mentioned, we try to connect strategies between universities, and this is not always just with the campuses we have ambassadors at. We were looking into what were the leading strategies for dining, and we found Duke's Climate Conscious Dining campaign. And their goal specifically is to impact behavioral change through adjusting social norms, highlighting the benefits of everything sustainable, making the good choice the easy choice, communicating progress, and sharing stories. And so the most innovative aspect of their campaign is that they did climate conscious labeling. And so they would put two seemingly identical types of products together. For example, one type of hamburger, another type of hamburger, and they would list the climate associations with each, and one would be clearly less sustainable for the planet, and the other one would be very sustainable. And so when presented with information right at the get-go, will students make the good choice? Will their moral compass jump in? And this is something we hope to see replicated at other schools. And now we have been talking to you for a good 45 minutes, and we really do appreciate your time. And we want to tie this all back into what's next, what now, because we have all of you here today to have this conversation and connect as we go forward. And so the first option is for the students who are here, we would love to have you become an ambassador on your campus. We just want to accelerate change. You do not have to have any expertise, any experience. You just have to have passion and be persistent. And so we do have a QR code here. We have a few. We can connect about this afterwards as well. Another great aspect for those who are already ambassadors, for those who are faculty and staff, those who don't have the capacity to personally become an ambassador because it does require a little bit of burden because climate change can be so heavy. We also recommend that you recommend an ambassador. And Glenn, you can touch on this a bit.
Yeah, we're looking for students that, yes, have true passion, but also have potential as leaders on their campus. There are students who are independently motivated, they're good communicators, relationship oriented, visionary, people that you'd be proud to represent your university. Those are the kinds of leaders that we're looking to invite in the future. And I would ask you now to just be reflecting upon people right now who you think could get some value from this and bring value to this program.
Yes, so especially students you've worked with or connected with in a formal or informal capacity, everyone is welcome, every student everywhere. Another aspect is to integrate ambassadors into your sustainability office. And so in theory, we know that so many people here today, again, are overburdened, do not have enough support for the initiatives you are all putting into place. And so our next recommendation is to integrate an ambassador officially into your office where the students can complete dual trainings, one from our program, one from your program, and we can share strategies between in that direct manner. If you yourself do not have the capacity to attend our sessions or our all of our opportunities as a faculty or staff member yourself. And we do have a few people in our program who are doing just this. Amy, I think is in here, who is also a sustainability intern at University of Buffalo. And we're always learning amazing things that they are working on. And I believe we are taking a lot of good things back to them as well. Now, Samir can talk about, again, the value of sharing successes between campuses in informal capacity as needed.
Yeah, so I think what's inspiring, at least from what I've seen, is that this was touched on briefly earlier, but eco reps are placed everywhere throughout the East Coast and many of the Ivy League schools. And so if they're able to, specifically at Berkeley, it is a net zero campus, if they're able to share information among schools that don't have that capability, haven't reached that level of environmental sustainability, being able to share projects or even resources. And I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this, but there's a toolkit that we're currently working on that briefly talks about how you can, start projects in certain realms on campus. And so having a network where you can share that information and highlight the successes that are taking places on schools across the country, allows for people to have an idea of what is possible. I mean, there are no limits as to what you can do. It just has to do with how you flesh it out and how you push for it.
Thank you, Samir. Yes, we truly want to celebrate everything that you have already done, whether it seems small, whether it was simple. It might not be simple to other campuses because we do have student representatives from campuses where there is no sustainability office or department. There is no sustainability director, and we have people who are taking on sustainability as a second or third or fourth job who are just trying so hard to get things started. So even the simple solutions, regular programming that you've been able to put on, regular strategies for outreach materials, trainings for students, everything. Anything you're willing to share, we want to celebrate and we want to highlight. And of course, if you have needs, we want to meet them as well. We want to work with you and accelerate change by supporting you and having you support us. And then Glenn can talk about our monthly calls as well.
Yeah, so our goal is to have highly efficient and energizing calls around the BAM model, boldly aligning and mobilizing, where we feature examples of what students are doing that is fairly bold and talk about how they align various people and mobilize people to make things happen. So the idea is really to provide sort of regular inspiration and guidance as part of this program.
Thank you, Glenn. Another thing that can be done is mentoring an ambassador chapter on your campus. If you want to be more involved with students and you want to just really help establish a campus presence, you cannot just recommend students, but you can work with us on whatever basis you're able to, whether it's a weekly basis, a monthly basis, but bringing students together and sharing directly in a regular format with the students on the campus you call home is so valuable. So that is another thing that you can touch on. And then Michelle can touch on the advisory board.
Yeah, we want to bring each of you that are either a professor or staff, you might be a sustainability director or have something to do within your campus regarding sustainability, or maybe even not, but you care about sustainability. We want to bring all of those people together to then be able to help facilitate more of a dialogue from that perspective, making sure that we're not ever in conflict with those that are in staff or the professors themselves, and really making sure that this program is effective down the road and that there's never a conflict there.
Yes, and so again, aside from connecting different stakeholder types, we want you to connect with people similar to yourself between campuses so that, again, you can have regular conversations and dialogues about what you're doing and what others are doing and how it all ties back to students and to impact. And our final call to action is just a reminder to stay connected with other people in the planet. That's how we move forward. To stay passionate even in the face of resistance or a lack of progress, and just truly persist, because anything is possible, everything is possible, and when we come together, we will make the most change that we can.